Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Joining me today is New York Times best-selling author Anita Moorjani. In her book Dying to Be Me, she shares her journey from cancer, near-death experience, and true healing. Welcome, Anita ji, and namaste.
Oh, thank you, and namaste to you too, Nirmala.
I remember meeting you back in 2012 when I came to Chopra Center for one of the workshops, and you were one of the guest speakers. And I was truly moved by your story. And as I've been working on the Journey of the Healing show, when I knew you were coming out here, I really felt that your story, I would like to bring your story to our audience.
Thank you.
As you know, we all struggle. We all struggle in different ways. But your story is unique in a sense where I know that you had a diagnosis in 2002, if I'm correct.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm just going to do a little bit of timeline. In 2006, you were in hospital.
That's right.
And today, it's 10 years later. It's 2016, February. You have been in recovery. Would you say recovery is the right word?
I would say healed.
Healed.
Yes, or yes, healed.
And reading your book, I understand that one of the things that really was a trigger for you was fear.
Yes.
And that fear started probably as young as age 6 when you overheard some conversations.
Yes.
Between your mother and probably one of her friends.
Yes.
And there was some talk about boys versus girls. And so that was the first time you felt anxiety. Can you remember that anxiety?
Yes, I think it was the first time that I realized or even became aware of such a thing as gender disparity, where at that time I overheard a conversation where a lady, excuse me, an Indian lady, and we are Indian as well, was telling my mother how happy that she was that she had 2 sons. And she asked my mother whether my mother was disappointed that she had a daughter, meaning me. Because in our culture, daughters are, or girls are considered inferior to boys. We celebrate, or in those days they celebrated when they had sons, but they commiserated when they had daughters.
Well, I think that still holds true even today in some cultures and communities, that boys are celebrated and girls are not. And it is sad, and such things can have such a profound impact on one's physiology and also on the psyche.
Yeah, because from that moment on, it hit me that that I was of the more inferior gender of the two. And it was the first time that that realization struck me. And it wasn't something that I felt, oh, that's not true or that can't be true. It was more like I absorbed it as though it was true, because being at that age of 6. And what that lady said to my mother was that girls are more trouble than boys. And I remember from that moment making a pact to myself that I'm not going to cause trouble, because I don't ever want my parents to regret that I'm a girl. So I'm not going to cause trouble. I'm going to always do them proud and be somebody that makes them proud.
And so basically, you suppressed your emotions.
I suppressed my emotions. So whenever I was unhappy or miserable or struggling, I didn't want to express them because I didn't want to cause trouble. I didn't want people to feel that I was a problem because I was a girl.
You also talk about in school, because I think the origins go to India, then being in Singapore, so there was a
Yes.
lot of movement. And when you were in this particular one school, you felt you were different.
Yes, because I was the only Indian child in the class. So I was different. I was an anomaly. And so it's normal at that age, I think, to feel that you're the one that's abnormal because everybody else is the same race and the same color. So I felt I was the one that was inferior or different. And it was compounded because I already felt inferior being a girl.
And then you talk about bullying in school.
Yeah.
When we think these days, the story has not changed. Your story is going back so many years. That story is still today there, where we see young kids in school get bullied.
Yes, a lot.
And that bullying, that experience, when they suppress it.
Yeah. And it's a very hard thing to share because the person who's bullied feels in some way that they deserve it, that there's something wrong with them, and that's why the kids are picking on them. So it's embarrassing to admit that you're being bullied. And also there's a fear that if your parents, if the teachers confront the bullies might actually make it worse, that they might get even angrier that you reported them. So there's that fear as well.
And how true. I mean, I know even today, we see a lot of guests. I talk to a lot of people, and that story is still true. And having you as a guest here and talking about, what led to your cancer, the emotions you held on to, and that fear, and now being here today and being able to share is such a profound story. And I'm hoping that people who are listening and our viewers will take message home today about that they don't have to live this way.
No, they don't, because I felt that for myself, from a very young age, everything I did to try and fit in. So what I realized later, after having cancer, after dying, and after experiencing this great clarity, which we'll talk about, I realized that every choice we make in life, even whether we realize this or not, but from a very deep, almost subconscious level, every choice is being made out of either fear or love. One of those two things is driving the decision on every decision we make in life. And what I mean by this is, for example, when we take a job, we either take a job because we want to do that job, we're passionate about that work, we love the idea of doing it, so that's a choice made out of fear, out of love, or we take a job out of fear because we fear not getting ahead in our career, we fear not having the money. Sometimes we stay in a job we hate because we have bills to pay and we fear not having the money. And we do this with just about every decision in our lives. Like sometimes we even marry out of fear and not out of love. We marry because we're getting older, we don't want to be left on the shelf, instead of because we love that person and want to be with them for the rest of our lives. I realized that every choice I had made in my life up to that point when I got cancer was made out of fear.
And you clearly say that the cancer is the fear.
Yes, because when you make every choice out of fear, in the end, the life you end up creating is not your life, because a life that is your life is an authentic life of you living, being who you are, making your choices out of love, out of passion. When you make your choices out of fear, it means it's a fear. You've made this choice because you fear, you want to belong, you fear not belonging, you fearing displeasing other people. I used to fear being a problem. I used to fear that I'm inferior because I'm a girl. I don't want to be a problem. So all these fears were the driving force behind all the choices that created the life that I was living. And so in the end, the life we end up living is not our life. And for me, living a lifetime of fear and desperation and treating myself like a doormat and a lack of self-love led to me getting cancer.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti